Hello everyone, my name is Justin Canerick. I am an officer with the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics at University of Central Florida. This is our PTC CREO workshop. Um, some of you actually came to the workshop. For those who aren't familiar with it, the workshop started last week, the week of that would be the week of the 21st. They take place on Fridays at 6 p.m. That would be in Engineering 2, room 304. So if you're interested and you like this video, be sure to come out and you can see this live. For those who were there, you'll notice that I wasn't able to actually post a video. We had some trouble in recording it. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to create this video to cover it. So before I begin, I thought I would just give you a little bit of a background on me and some of my experiences with CREO. So as I mentioned, I'm an officer with AIAA. I run a project called Aviation Design. It's a project that really heavily uses design. They actually use SolidWorks in that project, so it's not directly related to CREO. In addition, I'm also a CWEP, so College Work Experience Program intern with Lockheed Martin. I've been out there for 2 years, and I have about 6 or 7 months of on-the-job experience using CREO as part of the Apache program. So working on mechanical design and creating drawings for parts. So it kind of has a unique experience of, learning the software and kind of learning the quirks, and hopefully I can kind of get some of that information to you and help you guys in understanding the software. And additionally, I actually helped in running a SolidWorks workshop last semester. If you're familiar with the software, it's kind of a sort of competitor to ProE. There are some similarities and some differences, and hopefully I can point out some of these to the people who are familiar with SolidWorks to kind of help them transfer from SolidWorks to understanding ProE. So, a basic overview of our workshops. Today is day 1, so we'll be going through some basic modeling. If you look on our website, AIAAUCF.com, which I'll actually be going to in a few minutes here, I actually have a detailed timeline that shows everything that we'll be covering. But today, I would like to just get in and learn, the fundamentals. I want to kind of go through a few settings. I'll point out some important features and functions of ProE. We'll go ahead and we'll start making some basic sketches. We'll learn how to get in and out of sketch windows, which in ProE is a little more difficult than it is in SolidWorks. And we'll do some lines, and we'll create some basic objects, just getting us really the fundamentals ready so that we're ready to move on to day 2, which is going to be your 3D sketching. So we'll start working on things like extrudes and revolves, and don't worry if you're not familiar with these things. We're going to go through everything, things like blends as well. But we'll go through those in day 2. Day 3, we're going to be working on working with assemblies. So basically, once we've made 3D parts, we can take these parts and put them together. We can use things like 3D bolts if we wanted to, or we can just kind of attach them on the surfaces of each other. And we'll go ahead and work with assemblies. Assemblies are interesting in themselves. There's a lot of ways to, actually physically make the parts, and a lot of interesting things you can do once you've actually created an assembly of multiple parts. So we'll go through that. And finally, and this is the part I believe is of a lot of interest to a lot of you, is creating engineering sketches. This is certainly not something they really teach at UCF in their CAD class. I don't think many people will. So we'll actually go through what it takes to take your assemblies and create a drawing of them. So we'll put them into a drawing. We'll go ahead and we'll dimension them completely. I'll show you how to dimension properly using ANSI standards, kind of what we use at Lockheed. And if we have a little time at the end, I'll go through something called geometric dimensioning and tolerancing. It's basically a system that tells us how we dimension parts and drawings. A way to think of it is if you're, let's say, making a circular part and you put a radius on that part of maybe 2 inches. When you send that to be machined by someone, they're not ever really going to be machining exactly 2 inches to the 100,000th millionth place. And that's kind of where GTOL comes in. So it says, okay, if you produce the part and it comes in a little larger or it comes in a little smaller, how does that affect the part? It will be rejected. Does it kind of affect the way the part is placed on a surface? It has to do a lot with the form and function of the part itself. So it's a really interesting topic, and hopefully we'll get to that at the end on week 4. So today's agenda, as I mentioned, we're going to be going through some interface. I have a few functions and settings I think we can change to make it a little more familiar and a little less for, I guess, way inside it is like, it kind of looks like Windows 98 when you first start. The settings the way they are, everything's kind of choppy and it's not very smooth, so we'll try and change a few settings to make it a little easier to look at and work with. We'll go ahead and work with the simple sketches. We'll do some dimensioning. This is actually a very important topic when it comes to mechanical design. So we'll be talking about things like over-dimensioning and under-dimensioning. We'll go into those once we kind of start getting into things, and I'll explain exactly what those are. Next, we'll go ahead and talk about constraints, and I'll get more into those as well. And we'll finish off with some very handy tools when it comes to sketching, kind of making your life easier and making sketches more efficient. That's the offset, mirror, chamfer, and fillet tool. Before we go any further, I'm actually going to go ahead and come out of this PowerPoint and show you guys something. So if you go to our website, AIAAUCF.com, and go ahead to the Workshops tab, and under Workshops, you're going to CREO Workshops. This is where you're going to see all this information. This is probably where you're looking at this video now. You'll have files for each workshop. If you don't have CREO yet, I know a lot of people like to go to cecs.ucf.edu. It's just going to give you a Word document that actually directs you to here. So if you click this link, this is actually going to take you to the page where you get a free student download of PTC. I'm using right now PTC 3.0. That's the newest version of the program, so you just click here to download that. If you have any questions, you can absolutely contact us, aiaucf@gmail.com. So getting back into our presentation. A lot of people ask, well, what is CREO? You know, it's actually had quite a few names. So it started back in 1987 was the first version of it. It was called Pro Engineer. After that, they made some improvements to it, and they kind of tacked on the name Wildfire. There were 4 versions of Wildfire, and I guess once they finished the 4th version, they decided that they wanted to change the name. So it actually turned into CREO Elements. And finally, after that, it was upgraded to CREO Parametric. We had version 1, version 2, and we're currently on version 3. I know this is a little confusing, and it is, because when a lot of people talk about CREO, they kind of use the word Pro Engineer and PTC Engineer and Wildfire interchangeably, so it kind of gets a little confusing. We're using CREO Parametric 3.0. Now, why is this important? Well, a lot of companies actually use CREO. People like Lockheed Martin, who I work with, Boeing uses CREO, and NASA as well. And a lot of people ask, well, you know, if CREO is kind of, you know, hard to get used to, and you know, a lot of people don't prefer it. Why is it so popular? And part of the reason is it's old. You know, it came out 10 years before, maybe 10, 11 years before SolidWorks. So it's kind of been in the system, and you'll find through our workshops that it's actually a very powerful tool. I believe sometimes even more powerful than a SolidWorks or any of the other CAD softwares. So before we get started, I just kind of want to show you this, give you an intro of what you're going to look at. So this is basically a part being sketched on CREO. I kind of went in and just made something here. And I just want to point a few things out before we get started. So when you're in this window, there's some important things to notice. And I'll point them out again. You have a model tree. And your model tree is kind of like your timeline of events in your drawing. So you'll see as you read from top to bottom, things are kind of numbered. So you start with your, you know, here's the part itself and some planes, and you kind of, as you're going down, you see different features and patterns, and it's basically a timeline of what's happened. So when we're doing our sketches, keep an eye on that model tree. You'll see it kind of start to populate and grow. And this is a great tool when it comes to going back and needing to modify things or understand how things are produced in a model. So just kind of keep that in mind. As well, I'll point out too in the actual one up here in the corner, we have, there we go, we have a few buttons. You'll have a new button. This kind of open new parts. It'll allow you to create new paper, whatever you're trying to do new, opening parts. Most important tool here is the save tool. I've gotten myself in a lot of trouble by not saving. And of course the back button, very important tool. So that's kind of just an intro via PowerPoint. So we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and switch over to ProE. Obviously, there's no one here in the lecture, but if you had any questions, feel free to email the club email. I can get back to you. So go ahead and open 3.0 here. It might take a few seconds to start. Yeah. All right, so this is CREO. So I have a blue background. You probably have a white background. I'll show you how to change that. This is the first screen you're going to see. Coming across the top, we have those buttons that I was showing you before. New. This kind of lets us open a new parts, assemblies, drawings. Open if we had something that was already on the desktop. So the first thing I'd like to do is go ahead and click this file drop down up in the corner. And let's go ahead and come down to options. Something really nice about ProE is you can really get in and change a lot of the options, and they're all kind of conveniently located. So along the side here are all our different menu selections. A few things I'd like to kind of jump into. Environment, I don't use this one too often. System colors is really nice. If you kind of go through these drop downs, you can actually see every color used on the parts themselves. As an example, if we're looking at geometry, you can have things like what the background color is. So you notice my background is kind of this bluish color. That'd be just changing it to blue. If I want to change it back to white, I can just make it white as well. So if you want to go through and start modifying things, this is a great place. There's also custom color schemes. Dark background is pretty nice. Kind of helps with the eyes not having that bright color, but we'll go ahead and leave it. I'll go ahead and leave it as the default background just so I can keep with everyone else. You can feel free to change it. Make sure this is set to trimetric. I just prefer that. Basically, it's just how the model comes up in its default orientation and how it shows up on drawings. You have some other options here we're not too terribly worried about. You can always go through and start playing with them and see kind of how they affect your display. Now, in entity display, there's a few things I'd like you to change to make the viewing experience a little better. Go ahead and make sure that edge quality is set to very high, and anti-aliasing as well is probably off. Go ahead and set that to 16x. This will kind of just smooth out some of the corners and make things look a little more three-dimensional. So plenty of options here. You can absolutely go through and mess with those. And just kind of continue into sketchers. In sketching, this, of course, is all the different symbols and things that can show up, and you can go through and mess with those. There's a lot of options when it comes to ProE, which is really nice. So you can go ahead, once we're done, click OK. You might have gotten a screen that comes up. I didn't. That says, would you like to save this? Save these settings. Just go ahead and save it to whatever default folder it's in. It usually goes in my documents, and it'll just make sure that next time you open it, you'll also get the settings. So we'll go ahead and start drawing a new part. If you're curious about some of what I'm doing, there's a PowerPoint online on that website I showed you, and that has a 2 parts that I'll be working on. But we'll go ahead and start with just the main functions of ProE. So I went ahead and clicked New over here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to create a part. Make sure you're not clicking Sketch. You want to create a part. Sketch is not going to allow you to create the three-dimensional part of it. We can go ahead and name the part. I'll just call this one Workshop 1. Make sure you don't use spaces. ProE does not like spaces. I usually use a lower dash. And just go ahead and click OK. So this is our kind of our little 3D area. So we'll go ahead and let's start on the left side under that model tree. Model tree is a very, very important tool. You'll find this out later as well. So we're looking over here. We can see we have 3. These are called datums. They're basically 2-dimensional surfaces. If you have an X and Y, you can see it kind of lights up there. It's kind of hard to see. That's this vertical one. That's the right datum. And as I click datums, they highlight, so you can kind of see your 3-dimensional, we call it a reference frame that you would use to create your parts. So in this current window with everything up there, you're actually looking at a lot of the 3-dimensional tools. So sketching, you kind of have to go into a different specific setting to get there. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice getting in and out of sketches. There's really two ways to do it, to get into sketches anyways. And I just want to make sure it's very clear because I know a lot of people have trouble with getting in and out of sketches in this program. It's not really the most intuitive thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and click on sketch. You notice when I highlight anything also it does give a little explanation there of what you're looking at, which is a really nice feature of this program. So go ahead and click sketch. And we're going to get this window pop up. It's going to ask us sketch plane. It's asking us where do we want to start sketching. Now when it comes to sketch planes, kind of my recommendation on this is really understanding how you're designing your part. So, we could choose any one. We could choose the right plane, we can choose the top plane or the front plane, but it's really best to start sketching with the orientation that you're looking at a part. So let's say if you're looking at the front part of a bracket, you want to make sure you're sketching on the front plane. This will come in pretty handy when it comes to assemblies. So we'll go ahead and come over. We can either click the plane themselves, or we can go ahead and click a plane from the model tree. We'll go ahead and we'll click the front plane. So we'll come over and you can see that we're sketching on the front plane, and it's going to give us a reference just to kind of know where the plane is oriented, and you can change this, but I usually just leave it. And go ahead and click on sketch over here. So we've actually now entered the sketching function of ProE. You can see the options have all changed up here. Before we get into them, I'd really like to go out and back and make sure it's very clear how you do it. So now that we've entered a sketch, you can see the options have changed. The way to get out of the sketch is to click OK. So if you click OK, it's going to say it's incomplete. We don't have anything there. That's fine. Just click yes. And now we're back to our original first page, our modeling page. So again, to get into sketches, you click sketch. You can either click on a plane. This time let's go ahead and click on a plane in the image itself. So let's click on this front plane here. You can see again, just front plane, reference is right, and click sketch. So make sure you know how to do that. Thing to note as well up here, there's OK and there's cancel. If you're in the sketch plane, you just cancel. It's actually going to delete all of your work that you've done. So make sure you don't accidentally press cancel here. So now we're in the sketch plane. You can see kind of these dotted lines which represent the plane we're sketching on. I know it's not a function that people are really used to, but if you, on your mouse, you have that little scroll bar. If you click it in, so just push it in and move your mouse around, you'll see kind of moving my reference plane around just a little bit here. It's kind of hard to tell. It's really weird when you're just doing sketches, but I'm clicking and holding that center scroll bar and moving it around, and that's changing the orientation of all my planes. Now, I know at Lockheed they have it set to kind of just go right to the plane you're sketching on when you click the sketcher. But if you're in this orientation and you just want to, you want to get tangent to the surface so you can start sketching, or normal to the surface, you can come up here in our kind of little handy window, and this also comes in pretty handy as well. I'll kind of show you more about this in the future. And we'll go ahead and click this right here, the sketch view. By clicking this, it's go ahead and it's going to turn us to be tangent to the surface so we can start sketching. So what we're looking at here is our sketch plane. This is our front plane. We can kind of zoom in basically by scrolling on the mouse. So scrolling forward comes out and back goes in. We can kind of come off to the side and scroll out and in, so that you can see it's kind of moving the reference around, and then you can do that on either side, out and in. And if you were ever to, let's say, click the center or kind of do something weird, so I just kind of made it weird right there, and I want to get back, this button is your key right here. That sketch view. It's going to take us right back to where we want to be. Okay, so if you're confused on that, I recommend pausing the video, kind of go back, make sure you can open, close sketches, make sure you're comfortable with that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our first line. So we're going to come ahead and come up to our sketch tools up here. So really quick, starting from the left, we have the same option there, the sketch view. We have, this is kind of a reference viewer. This comes in a lot more handy when it comes to the 3D modeling. Things that we'll be using is center line. Is kind of it's a way of like constructing other lines. It's kind of hard to explain it, but you'll see we're going to use it today. We can create things like coordinate systems and points. Primarily what we're using is these sketching tools over here. Here's the line tool and a few other ones that we'll be going through. I won't describe those now since we'll be going through them. Here's options to delete and modify lines. Our constraints that we spoke about, we'll get more into those, and of course out of dimension. But we're going to go ahead and let's just create a line. So come up here to line. Go ahead and click on it once. Now you'll see that it's darkened. It's indicating that we're using the line tool. We're going to kind of zoom in a little bit towards the center. And you'll notice you can see that little dot next to my mouse. It's kind of hard to see. There it goes. I can kind of create the circle. That is basically where we're placing the point. We're starting the line anyways. And we could really click anywhere on the screen. The best thing you can do, of course, is clicking on what's called the origin. So this is basically a fixed point. It's right here in the center where it says CSYS def, whatever that means. It's right in the center. It's basically a fixed point where we can start our sketches. It's really nice because it doesn't move and it gives us kind of a place of dimension. So you can kind of see it. It wants to clip right to it. It kind of snaps to it. So we'll go ahead, snap right to that center, click once, and now as we drag our mouse out, you'll see a little orange line. This is the line that we're going to be creating. You can see I can move it anywhere I want. I can make it up, right. In our case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put it anywhere. So we're going to go ahead just in right here, right part of the screen, click. So left click. Now I go ahead and move off, and you see, okay, now it's giving us the option to create another line. If this is all we want, we just want the one line. There's two ways to finish this line. So basically to tell it, no, this is the last point we want on the line. One of those ways is to press that center button. Remember the center button we use to pan around the screen? Well, that will also stop creating a line. So if we press that center button once, you'll notice that the line finishes. I still have my little X. You can kind of see it up near my mouse. You can also see that the tool is still highlighted. So basically what we can do here is if I wanted to create more lines, I can go ahead and click and continue creating them. If we want to completely exit the tool, you're going to go ahead and center click one more time. Now that we've done that, you can see that the line tool has popped off. Now we actually have dimensions on our line here, and we no longer have that little point next to the mouse. So again, we'll go ahead and delete this line. Just go ahead and click on it and hit the delete function, the actual word delete on the keypad to delete the line. Another option, of course, if I press Control Z, if you wanted to delete this line, there's a delete segment tool up here. I usually use this one. It's a little easier to work with. So you click that delete segment, and now with it highlighted, if you click with the left mouse and drag, you can see this little line is created. If you drag that right across the line you want to delete, it'll delete the tool. So that's pretty handy. And then once you're ready to exit this tool, go ahead and center click on the mouse twice. Once and twice. So we're going to go ahead and create a line again. This time, go from the center. We're going to come off directly to the right. You can see I have a little H kind of attached to the line. This is one of those constraints I kind of mentioned before. I guess it's a good moment to explain what constraints are. Basically, constraints are things you can apply to a line that kind of limits how it's being produced. In this case, we have an H because this line is horizontal. It's along this horizontal axis. And basically, as long as I'm dragging along it and I have that H, I can ensure that this line will always be horizontal. But let's go ahead and click once to create that line. Come off to the side, or you can even leave it on there if you want. This time we're going to try something a little different. We're going to hit the escape button. So if you go ahead and click escape, it's basically the same thing as center clicking. So we clicked it once. You can see we're still able to create another line if we wanted. click it again, and you'll be out of the line itself completely. So you just keep that in mind. First, cancels the line itself. Second, comes out of the tool. So now, one of the features about Pro I really appreciate is once you do finish creating something, it automatically kind of puts this dimension in there. Some of them might be pretty large or small. It kind of depends on how far you zoomed in. By default, these are all in inches. What I did there is actually you can just left click on the dimension and you can move it around. I naturally do that, just try and clean everything up. So this is the length of this line. If I wanted to change the length, I would want to change this dimension. The way I do that is you hover over the dimension, it'll turn green, and we're going to click 2 times. So again, go to the dimension, click twice, and that opens the dimension itself. So in this case, let's go ahead and just assign this a length of 5, 5 inches, and you'll see it kind of pops in and re-zooms in to the line itself because it went from 500 to 5, of course. And then you can click and hold and drag this wherever you want. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to add another line to this. We're going to go ahead and create a box. How about that? So go ahead and click that line tool again. And we're going to kind of come over to where our first line ended. You'll see again it snaps right to it. Click once and drag up. We're going to want to make sure we snap right to the center. We have vertical, so we're creating a box. You zoom out a little bit, and just go ahead and anywhere in the rough area, just click once. This time we're going to continue with the box. So right now we're going to drag over, and we're going to keep dragging, and eventually it's actually going to snap to that center line again. That's kind of where we started the sketch, which is again a really nice handy tool. So, left click once, and finally we're going to drag down to our origin, which completes the sketch. So now that we're happy with it, we go ahead and either click escape or center click once and center click again. So now you can see we're out of the sketch tool and we have our dimensions here on the screen. We can go ahead and click and drag them. Always a good thing once you're making drawings, especially when you get really into these complex ones, that you place your dimensions in really nice places, keep them clean. It really helps. Not just with designing, but also with creating drawings, which you'll be doing in the future. Alright, so we want this to be a square box. So we'll go ahead, we want to change this dimension here to 5 to make it square. So I double clicked, double left click, and go ahead and insert 5. And I guess I didn't explain this before, but once you hit what you want in there, you can just go ahead and click enter, and that'll change it. I should have explained that before. So double click to modify the dimension. Sorry, and click enter. And so now we have a square box. Now you notice I have 2 dimensions on here. Something we can do, and we'll go into a lot more detail on this when we do our more advanced parts as well, is use those constraints I was kind of talking about. Actually, no, we'll go ahead and we'll save those for the sketch. I don't want to confuse you guys with anything, so we're going to go ahead and complete this sketch here because we're happy with what we have. We're going to go ahead and click OK. And can't really see it now, but if you center click and scroll off to the side, you'll actually see we have our square on that front plane, which is exactly what we sketched, and now you have sketch over here on the right side. Something if you want to do with this at this point, you can actually right click on the sketch and you can click rename. So if you want to name this, like front box, or just name it box, whatever you want. It helps you understand kind of what you're working with, especially if you have a lot of sketches. So hopefully this is all making sense. Again, if you have any confusion or questions, go ahead, pause, go back, look over a few things. Make sure you get this right. Fundamentals are really important when it comes to CREO. So, if we're okay with that, we'll go ahead and we're going to create a new sketch. We could use this window, but we're going to go ahead and just open a new window to create the sketch in. So we'll come up to the left side over here and click on New. new part. We're going to call this workshop. Why don't we go with 1, 2, second part, and go ahead and click OK. So here's that same screen again. This time, let's go ahead and sketch on that right plane, and click Sketch, and come over, make sure we go tangent to that plane. Alright, so this time we'll zoom in a little bit. We're going to go ahead and play with a few of the options here. Let's try and play with some of these other things that we have at our arsenal, as I like to call it. The first one we'll look at is this rectangle. So if we go ahead and click on the rectangle and come over, we'll go to the origin again. We're going to left click once and drag out. You'll see it's automatically creating all 4 sides, which is really nice. So we can really place this anywhere. So we'll say just leave it right here. Center click once, come out to the side, click escape or the center button twice. 1, 2. That time it actually took only 1 try, since this was already a pre-built-in shape, so I didn't actually have to press it twice. Drag our dimensions out to the side, and from here we can go ahead and dimension these. It would create the box, which is nice. If we want to delete these lines, we have options. We can click on the line themselves and delete, or we can come up to our tool, our delete segment tool, and come over onto the sketch, left click and hold, and drag over the lines you'd like to delete. So pretty convenient there. Now that we're done with the tool, center click gets us right back into where we started. Some other nifty things you can do with that rectangle, you notice how it kind of created from the corners, as you can see from the picture. We can click this down option, and this will give us a few other ways to make a rectangle. So we can create a slanted one. One I do use quite often is the center rectangle. If you click on that and click that center line and drag out, you'll notice now it's actually creating in the center of the object, right? And what's nice here is it's already giving us those cross hairs, and we can kind of place this rectangle exactly where we want it. Let's say we want a certain distance from the origin, we can do that. So you do the same thing, you click once and it would create it. We'll go ahead and click escape and look at some of the other options we have here. Coming down, we have the circle point tool. So if you click once, you're going to be able to create a circle like you'd imagine it would. You click once to get the center and drag out. We'll go ahead and click escape. This time, let's go ahead and try out here. I don't want you to think you only have to put stuff on the origin. You can come anywhere. So you can come out in this right corner and do the same exact thing. So if you click once, now we'll go ahead, and once we're done, we're happy. We'll center click once, and it'll give us now dimensions. So now we have our placement dimensions. Let's say we want to make this one 60, and maybe this one 40. I'm just going to come up with the numbers here just to kind of show you and get practice with clicking on our dimensions, double clicking the dimensions and clicking enter to complete them. And then this is going to be your diameter here. We'll go into a little bit more on these types of dimensions as well. So go ahead and delete that one. Of course, the drop down here, there's a lot of options. Pro is all about options, so make sure you kind of explore all these drop downs. Mean you have more than one way of drawing something. You have concentric circles, 3-point circles, 3 tangent circles. I don't want to go through them all, but my best advice to you would be just kind of, once you finish this workshop, go through and just start playing with them. Put them on the screen, see what happens. Same with ellipse and arc. I'll actually show you arc. So if you click on the arc tool, and we'll go ahead and we'll put this on the origin. Click once on the origin, and just kind of click out somewhere off to the right, and you'll see now it kind of creates an arc. And it's kind of hard to show you, but you can see that little center point growing. That's where you define the location of the arc and also the radius. So let's say we place this arc, click once, come off to the side, and center click. You'll see you have a dimension for the center point of the arc itself, and also the radius. Adjusting the radius, of course, will change the size of the arc, and adjusting the center point here will adjust its location. So we'll go ahead and delete that arc. We'll go ahead and talk about the other tools there as well. Make sure we center click again to get us out of that tool. Looks like we forgot one little piece here. So go ahead and make sure you delete everything off the screen so we have a fresh plate to start with. So we'll go ahead, if you're looking at the PowerPoint, we're going to go ahead and create that first sketch. It's on slide 7 of the PowerPoint. So I'm basically going to walk you through the way I do a lot of my sketching. So if we kind of take a look at this feature, and I'll go ahead and pull it up on here real quick, just get an idea of what we're going to be sketching here. You see a few important factors kind of when it comes to sketching this thing. It looks like it has a square feature with a radius cut out of it. They've got a flat piece, a little pointed top, and this other rectangle attached to it. So the way we're going to attack this sketch is we're going to go ahead and start by creating a rough outline of the sketch. So we'll probably create a box, and then we'll add this little triangle and this little piece over here, and we'll dimension it. So we'll go ahead and take this step by step. I want to make sure it's nice and clear. Make sure you open the right window. So let's go ahead and use the line tool. Click it once. Come over to our center point. We're going to lock it down on the center to keep it from moving. Click once and go ahead and drag over. So just place it anywhere. You can center click once. Instead of just finishing dimensioning this, we'll go ahead and just kind of sketch the rough outline of what we're looking at. Again, you can flip back and forth to the PowerPoint if you'd like. So we'll go ahead and so here's something I can explain on this. Instead of placing that, I have something that actually could help you a lot, because I'll show you what's going to happen. So if we click once here, and we're just going to we'll leave it here for the moment, so click escape or center click twice. Something that happens quite often with Pro E is, so this, you remember when we started, this number is really, really big. If we were to create these two dimensions originally and modify them, so an example of that would be, you can go ahead and just leave yourself on the screen. Don't worry about doing this. I just want to show you this as an example. I'll delete these lines just to show you it. 1, 2. Just go ahead and sit tight for a second. If I go ahead and zoom out really far, I can even get ourselves back to the original place we started sketching by pressing that button, and I create lines. So I'm going to do exactly what you have there. I'm going to create one line and 2 lines. I'll go ahead and click escape twice. And let's say I wanted to dimension this one, and I want this to actually be something really small. Let's say I want it to be like, I don't know, 0.5. I go ahead and create it, and you can kind of see that it's really hard to tell where this other line is. It's kind of more extreme when it's like 400 or 500. So something I like to do when you're sketching is actually make one line and dimension it so that it kind of rescales the view you're in before you sketch everything else. So I wish I could have shown that to you before, but try that on your own when you first start and you start the sketch tool. Create 2 sides and try and change the bottom side to something really small. You'll notice it like zooms in really, really far, and it does this really weird stuff. It'll do some crazy things if you're not careful about how it's scaled. But we'll go ahead and I'll get myself back to where you are. So I'll go ahead and create that line. So we had that horizontal line, that vertical line. So if you guys center clicked and you came out and clicked escape twice, you'd be back, at square one. So you want to come back in and click that line tool again. Come ahead, you'll snap right to the point and kind of begin sketching again. So we're going to go ahead and continue with our sketch here. So you can see it kind of comes horizontally over some distance. We're just roughing out the sketch here, nothing specific, so kind of just sketch it as it kind of looks. It comes over, it comes down, and all the way over, and finally back down to the origin. Once we're happy with that, go ahead and click escape twice, and you'll see all of our dimensions have shown up on the screen now. So we'll go ahead and then we'll start dimensioning this object. Again, it's on the PowerPoint. So looking at it, the easiest dimension to work with is this vertical height. It's this one right here. So click and drag out to the side. And I'll go ahead and change that to 5, just like the sketch says. Here's actually a good example of it doing some crazy scaling. So this will fix itself when we define the horizontal direction. So looking at that sketch, we'll go back over real quick. We have 3 plus 5 gives us 8. We also have a 2-inch radius. So this whole line length, without having kind of this cut in it, we'll put this in afterwards, is actually 10. So we'll go ahead and back into our sketch. We're going to define this length here by double clicking as 10. You can see now we even have some weird things going on up here. So we'll go ahead and see if we can fix this up really quick. So with this one here, that it looks hard to see, but that's actually this right here, and that's a length of 5. So sorry, we'll go ahead back to our sketch and define this guy right here as 5. Go ahead and just click once, drag that up out of the way. Going back to our sketch, that first little step there, the distance on that is 5 minus 3, that's 2. So go ahead back over this. We want this little small dimension here, double click it, and click 2. So now you can kind of see we have our dimensions, and it looks a little more like what it should be. Something to note on here as well before you go further, you can notice on the drawing that my dimensions actually come from the bottom up to the top, where if you look at the dimensions on our sketch, they're kind of a little different. So if you wanted to dimension this in a different way, what you could do is actually come over here to this dimension tool right here where it says normal. If you click that once, this is going to start creating dimensions. So the way this works is you basically click your axis first, or your reference. In this case, we're going to choose the horizontal axis, and we're going to define the distance up to this this first shelf here. So go ahead and click on the line itself. Now we're going to come off to the side. Nothing apparently has happened yet, and center click once. Okay. So what you're seeing here is basically that we've kind of over-defined this sketch a little bit. It's basically saying, well, I already have these constraints in place and I have a dimension, so why exactly do I want 3 inches? I already have this distance defined. So we'll go ahead and click undo. We'll get ourselves back. A way we can avoid doing this over dimensioning is by clicking on one of our dimensions. In this case, we'll go ahead and click on the 2, click it once, and click delete. This time we actually got what we wanted, but usually what happens is you can kind of see this is a little bit of a brighter color. Center click once and I'll let you move it. It's different from this other one. This is kind of darker colors. These are kind of like temporary dimensions, so it could have shown the temporary dimension up there, and we'd be able to create our dimension from here to the top. But since we already have it here, we can just double click it. Actually, I'll show you something right there before. So go ahead and click escape. You can see when I highlight it, it says it's a weak dimension. Basically means it hasn't been defined since we kind of deleted the dimension. It's kind of there just as a placeholder. That's weak versus something like this one, which is a strong dimension. That's something we've actually defined. So go ahead and double click on that. We want it to stay as 3, so don't go ahead and change anything, just click enter. And now you'll see it's turned into it should turn into a strong dimension. Alright, well, if it doesn't change into a strong dimension, something you can do is you can actually click on it and right click and hold. You have to actually hold the right click down for a second and come down and click strong. You can see it kind of changed the color now and press enter. Alright, so the next dimension we want. We actually already have out here, so we'll go ahead and just drag this over so it looks like the drawing. Let's see what else we can modify. We have this distance right here. It already has the 5, so we don't need another dimension here. It actually just over-define the drawing. We'd have too many dimensions on here, so we can go ahead and leave that one off. I guess the next thing we can do is we go ahead and add that little triangular piece at the top. So to create that, we're just going to use 2 lines. Come over, click the line tool. So we're going to go ahead and grab this corner right here. Click once, drag up towards the top, anywhere, just kind of roughly where you want it, and drag back down to the side. Make sure we kind of latch on there. Try to avoid any of these things like midpoint or something. It's just going to kind of complicate our sketch a little bit. Click once, come outside, and center click it or escape twice. So now what we need to do, since obviously you can see kind of this is open space, this dotted line is just there to show you that this dimension applies to that corner and this horizontal part. We're going to want to go ahead and delete this extra little line here that we have. So if we zoom in closer, you can see that we want this open space. So we can go ahead and use the delete segment tool and come back over and delete that center segment there. Now you can see we have, a solid object, a solid sketch rather again. Go ahead and click the center tool. So if we look at our sketch, we have this dimension, 150 degrees is going to define the shape of the object, and the length, of course, will be defined by this radius of 2, which I'll kind of show that to you in a second here. So if we go back to our sketch, go ahead and make this double-clicking, 150 degrees, and that's defined by that radius. So that radius is 2, so it's 2 inches from the side over. So we can go ahead and kind of really quickly dimension that. So we can go ahead and click normal right up in the corner. We can dimension from the point to the point. There's plenty of ways to do this, but this is just one, and we'll make that 2. So kind of working our way towards what we need here. We'll get rid of this one afterwards once we create our radius, since we won't necessarily need it, but we can go ahead and leave it for the moment. And I'll just place this somewhere nice. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and move everything else in there. We'll go ahead and work on this radius here, this 2 radius. The way we're going to go ahead and do that is by kind of sketching a circle. So we're going to sketch a circle centered at this corner with a radius of 2, and we'll actually cut away the extra material here to create the shape. So the way we're going to do that, and this is a great practice with modeling, so instead of having to actually create an arc or something crazy and then have to define a whole bunch of things, it's easier just to make shapes and cut extra away from it. Go ahead and click that center tool, circle tool. Click on that right corner and drag out. You go ahead and just put it anywhere. Click once, off to the side, click escape, center click. You can see it's actually given us a diameter. I believe if we would like this to be a radius, what we can do is actually dimension it differently. Of course, this is a weak dimension because we haven't assigned a specific dimension to it just yet. So we can go ahead and click the normal tool and come over. I believe it's click twice. So I clicked the circle twice with the left click, and then come out to the side and center click. Sorry, let me see. I get a little trouble with remembering how to do this. It might be click once and center click twice. Okay, so it is. So actually we'll go ahead and delete this dimension. So this is back to where we started. Just delete the dimension, you get back to the weak dimension. Normal tool selected. Click on that circle once, come off to the side, and center scroll click twice, 1, 2. And that will give us our radius, which is kind of what we're looking at in our sketch. Go ahead and define that by clicking twice as 2. So now we're going to go ahead and we want to delete all of this extra material. All we want really is this. So go ahead, come up to the Delete Segment Tools, click and hold and drag that through the circle. We're going to get rid of those pieces. Now go ahead and take care of this corner. Click and hold, drag through the corner. And you can see now we have our shape. So click off to the side once. Go ahead and just, try and clean up these dimensions a little bit. Let's try and make it look more like the original sketch. We have this dimension over here, which we don't really need. We actually, according to my drawing, would like to have this dimension here. So we can actually go ahead and just kind of click on that dimension we don't want, delete. So now you'll see it's become a weak dimension. And we'll redimension this object from the horizontal axis down here all the way up to the top of the object where it's dimensioned in our photo. Come off to the right and center click. So now you see it's already popped up with 5 because we have the dimension where we want it. Click enter. Go ahead. You notice I can't drag this object yet. It's because we're still in the dimension tool. Common problem I have, I always forget to do this, so you have to center click or click escape once, and then you can start moving your dimensions around. Looks like we actually didn't change this one up here, so if we go back to the drawing, you'll see that is actually 5. So double click that and then change it to 5. That dimension is on the bottom, so again, move that down to the bottom, move this one out of the way. We have this guy here. We'll just leave that off to the side. And our radius, I usually just try and leave these in a reasonable place. Usually you can kind of create to the center point, I guess, with this current drawing we have we can, so just kind of drag it off somewhere where it's not in the way. So that looks like about everything we have. You do see that we still have this dimension here, and the reasoning for it, we haven't really told it what this angle should be. So of course we could go ahead and define that as the 150 degrees, and that would give us our angle. But another option we can have, instead of actually defining the angle, is just simply setting these two sides equal to each other. So you can imagine with any triangle, if you have two sides that are equal, the angle they produce are the same. And this is one of those constraints. So this is a good opportunity to apply the constraints. So instead of actually changing this dimension and having to set it, we can actually come up to our constraints, and we're going to go ahead and click this one right here. Looks like an equal sign. So go ahead and click it once, and we're going to first click on the line we'd like to have matched. So this is what we want to replicate, the length of this line right here. Click once, and we'll go ahead and click on the other line once, and now you'll see that they are equal length. So we can center click out of that. Okay, just double checking something here. Move this up to the side. So we can do now, here's something weird too. We have this 3.08. Go ahead and make sure this is should be 3 inches per the sketch. There we go, that looks much better because it's now horizontal. So that's basically our sketch there. We have all of our points, all of our features are in there. So we're happy with this one. Now that we're done, we're happy. Go ahead and click the check mark, and you finished our first sketch in CREO. So hopefully you understood that. If not, you can always go back, ask questions. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to create another sketch, and this time we're going to try and employ some of the constraints. We're going to try to employ some other things that will help us in quickly grading our sketch. So we'll go ahead and go up to the left and create a new part, call it workshop. Sorry. 1/13. Click OK. New sketch window, same idea. Let's go ahead and sketch right up here in the corner. And sketch on that front plane. Shows front, click sketch. Now I want to be tangent to the surface. Come right up over here, sketch view, and that's where we want it. So we'll go ahead and take a look at our next sketch. Is this this kind of shape, and kind of the reasoning for why I chose it is its unique opportunity to use a function called mirror. So of course I could draw this entire thing and then dimension it, and there'd be dimensions everywhere. It'd be kind of crazy. What I can do instead of that, because I know it's symmetrical about the x and the y-axis, is actually draw half of it. So you can see step one. This is what we're actually gonna sketch, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna mirror this over the horizontal axis, horizontal and vertical axis, to create our part. So it's kind of like being able to create the whole thing without having to actually put all the dimensions in there. You'll find this pretty unique because what you can do is, let's say you wanted to change a certain parameter on this. Let's say you want to make this a different angle. If you had sketched this entire thing with all different dimensions, different angle here, different length here, you'd have to go through and change each of the four. Where here, by changing just one dimension here, it's going to affect the entire part, and I'll kind of show you that towards the end so you can get an idea of what's going on there. So we'll go ahead back into our workshop. I've been kind of bad about this, but make sure you go ahead and save these. So Control Save, save it to the desktop. I should be saving these more often. I've learned lessons about this more than once, and I always forget. So just make sure you save this. Save periodically. You never know when CREO is going to fail, and you don't want to lose all your work. So we're going to go ahead and start sketching this object. So go ahead and click our line tool. So in this case, we're actually not going to start on the origin because we're trying to mirror across this vertical line. So we'll go ahead and come out to the side here, click once, and drag up. Make sure we have that vertical constraint applied, and click. So now we'll go ahead and click Escape, click the center button twice. You'll get some crazy dimension. We only want this distance to be 15, so we'll go ahead and change this to 15. And this distance here, as per our sketch, is 10. So this is kind of what I was talking about with the whole scaling thing. Now it's scaled down to size, where if I were to kind of make the whole sketch and start applying these dimensions, it would really warp it and kind of make it unviewable, so it's kind of hard to work with, so we've kind of scaled it down. Anyways, we'll go ahead and continue to sketch our object here. So we're going to come up off to the right. This will go ahead and we'll define this afterwards, so just place it anywhere. And we're going to continue up vertically. I'm scrolling in and out to move myself. So, if I'm down here and I want to be up towards the top of the screen, I'd move my mouse down towards the bottom, forward scroll. It's kind of pushing me up. You can imagine this is like you're pushing towards the bottom of the screen. It kind of pushes in the opposite direction, like Newton's laws. And come up to the top and scroll in and kind of move yourself around. So go ahead and click, and our final line, as you can see from our sketch, comes across to our vertical axis. You can see it kind of clicks to it and click. Go ahead and exit out of that sketch there. Okay, so let's go ahead and just finish off on these things. You notice I have a dimension here, this axis. We actually, this angle, we won't need it because we'll be defining everything else here. So I guess the first thing we can start with is this 8 and the 10. Actually, we have the 10 down there, so we'll work on that 8. Come up here to our normal, click it, and click on our horizontal, and come up to the top, center click once. It's prompting us our dimension. That dimension is 8. Okay, so looking at our drawing again, this dimension here, that is 20. So go ahead, click once. Oh, see, you forgot again. Make sure you click that center tool to get out of that dimensioning tool. drag it out to the side, double click, change that to 20. This guy right here, he's actually 15, so that's right where it should be. And finally, the distance between this point and the bottom, we'll go ahead and define that. So come up, click the normal tool. We're going to go ahead and click that horizontal surface. You can see I've kind of done interchangeably. You can click, the point first or the surface first. It doesn't necessarily matter. It matters where you click, but not the order you click it. So I click the bottom. Go ahead and this time make sure we grab that point, not the lines or anything, but the point. And come off to the side and center click to place the dimension. This dimension, it's going to be 17. So we'll go ahead and we'll neaten this up. Good practice is the larger dimensions on the outside and your smaller dimensions as you come in, so none of your lines kind of cross each other. Something you learn from working with Blockheed. Go ahead and just put this one down towards the bottom. No, we'll go ahead and actually leave it up towards the top and move the 10 up to the top. Try and neaten up our sketch a little bit. So there we go. We have our sketch. Everything is fully defined. Alright, we're going to go ahead and mirror now. We're going to use the mirror tool to mirror this. So mirror tool, kind of like what it sounds, is kind of like creating a reflection. Almost like you had a fold of paper, the old-fashioned thing where you put paint on one side, and you fold it together and makes it kind of butterfly shape, because that's the same thing on the other. Well, it's kind of what we're going to do here. And we're going to go ahead and use the mirror tool. So that mirror tool is up here towards the top. You can notice the moment it's not actually highlighted, it's actually going to ask us to click our line first before we can click on the mirror tool. So to use it, we're going to go ahead and kind of click the lines we'd like to mirror. So in this case, we're looking for this line here. Now we can highlight all these lines in two different ways. You can hold the control button and start kind of clicking all the lines. Or if you kind of come off to the side and just click escape once, just left click to get out of it. You can actually click and hold and drag a box over all the lines, and that will highlight everything. And now you can see that our mirror tool has lit up a little bit, so it's going to let us use it. So go ahead and click mirror, click that once, and now you can come down the left. I didn't point this out before, but you'll get little notes and little things down here to kind of help you understand what's going on. So it's asking for a center line. It's asking what to flip this over. We'll go ahead and flip this over to the right side first. So as you can see, we don't actually have a center line to click on yet. So we'll go ahead and center click out of this twice. Let's get out of the tool. And we'll go ahead and we're actually going to have to create a center line. So the way we can do that is come up here to the left, click on our center line, and come over to the center, and we'll just go ahead and drag that up. You can notice it's like this infinite line. This is different than an actual sketch. It's basically something you'd use for construction, something to base your sketch on. So this doesn't actually show up in the sketch itself. We'll go ahead and put one vertically. So it flips to vertical, click once. We're still in the tool, but we're going to need a horizontal one anyway. So we'll come click the origin again and make our horizontal line, clip it on, click once, and hit escape twice to get out of the tool. Again, let's go ahead and highlight everything now. Go ahead and click our mirror. And now you notice that it actually kind of lights up this little center part as we come over. It's hard to tell, but it's lighting up. Click that vertical line once, and now you can see it's kind of flipped our sketch over to the other side, which is exactly what we want to see. So click off to the side once, and just left clicked off to the side. You can see we've kind of created our sketch. Now, to get over this horizontal axis, we're going to do a similar operation. Left click and hold, drag over everything, and let's go ahead and mirror over this horizontal axis there. See, now we've created our whole object, which is nice. And just kind of neaten up our dimensions a little bit. Of course, you can dimension this in any way. If you didn't want this specific dimension, you can change it. Like in my sketch, I actually have it from the horizontal up to the top. So if we want to change that, we should be able to dimension horizontal, and we'll dimension to the same place as the sketch, which is right up here, and center click. Now we get that error again, of course, and the reason for this, if you can remember, we have this 30 here. We've already defined the length of this whole object, and now we're kind of coming through and saying, no, we actually want to define it just using this part. So basically, we're applying two dimensions to the same piece. It's already at 30. Now we're saying, well, it's actually two lengths of 15. And Pro is kind of saying, well, you can't have two of the same dimensions. You can't define it in two different ways. So basically, what it's saying here is there's conflicting objects. There's conflicting dimensions. We have the 30 and the 15. So in our case, we want to keep the 15. So if we highlight the 30 and we click delete, it deletes the 30-inch dimension. It leaves us with the 15. Click enter, and now we've got our 15-inch dimension. Center click, of course, to be able to move it. Nice little tool to use. So when you're defining things and you want them to be defined differently, that's kind of the way to do it. Same way you can do it with this horizontal. So if you wanted the horizontal to be defined only from the side over, we click on our center line with the normal tool selected, come over to the side, come up to the top, center click, same error. Of course, we want to keep the 8, so go ahead and delete the 16. And you can do the same on the bottom if you wanted to. I know I have two sketches on there. The second sketch has the full length dimensions. I just want to show you how to kind of switch back and forth between them. So this is the mirror tool. Really handy tool. Comes in handy many different operations. So we'll go ahead and finish this off with those last two operations that we mentioned. We have actually we have a few more to go through. So the next thing I'll show you is the offset tool. And the offset tool basically takes a line and puts it out at a certain dimension. So where this could be useful is, let's say I have this solid kind of shape, but I really want to define it as a shape that has the same dimensions, the same size, but it kind of comes along on the outside, and I want to give it a certain wall thickness. So I don't want this to be part of the sketch. I actually want this little part on the outside. Way you can do this is the offset tool. Now if you come up, you can see the offset tool up here, but I want to show you a little trick that I find really useful for CREO. Not many people know about. Come over to the right, instead of clicking that tool up here to the search command and click on it, you'll get a little search bar. What you can do now is you can actually start typing the name of the tool you want to use. So we're just going to go ahead and start typing offset. As we start typing, it will narrow down our options. So there's offset. And as we scroll down, it gives us all the different possible tools with the offset. And you can kind of notice as I scroll over them, it actually goes to the tool, which is really handy. So in our case, the offset we're looking for is this one right here. So you can see it's even highlighted it in the menu, which is really nice. And then this works for any tool, any option as well. We can click it right from the search menu. And now it has actually activated our offset tool, which is really, really nice, especially when you're not sure of how to do something or where to find a tool. So we'll go ahead and we'll start offsetting some lines. Looking at it, we have type. It says select offset edge. And we have different options here. Kind of defines how we want to select them. We'll start with single. So in single mode, we would click a single line. So in this case, let's go ahead and choose this vertical line. Click it once, and up on top you'll get enter offset in the direction of the arrow. So we have an arrow here. It's saying this is the direction it's going. And as an example, we'll go ahead and offset this by 5 inches. 5, enter, and it's going to create a line 5 inches away from that first line. Again, to show this, we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and try and offset this one right here. So we're still in the tool, which is good. If you accidentally clicked out, go ahead and click back into the offset tool. Go ahead and click this angled line once. It's going to ask us how far we want it. Change it to 5, and we've created our offset line. Something we can do as well, if we wanted to try to create these lines together. Let's say I didn't want to do it one by one. That's kind of annoying, right? Is we can actually create them as part of a chain. So we'll go ahead and do is center click. Let's get out of this and delete those two lines that we created. I use the delete segment tool, click and hold, drag across, drag across. Go ahead and center click again to get us out of that delete tool. We're going to go ahead this time and come up and click offset. But this time we're going to offset as a chain. So go ahead to type over here on the side, click chain. And what this is going to allow us to do is click more than one line and then define the offset for all of the lines together, which is really nice. So as an example, go ahead and zoom in, click that vertical line. We'll just kind of start going around, clicking lines. Don't worry about the menu on the side. Click all the lines. You want them all to show up green. Oh, actually, I'm sorry here. So actually, you do need to click on this stuff. So once you click the first line, you actually have to click next. And it'll start giving everything. And once we've clicked everything, I believe I have everything selected. Go ahead and click accept. And we'll define that as 5. And there we go. So instead of clicking individually, I use the chain tool. Click each one, click next, click all the lines together. And as you can see now, everything has been offset by 5, which is nice. You can go ahead and close this. Another really nice tool to work with. So next thing we'll go ahead and show you guys on the list is the fillet and the chamfer tool. Now, if you take in any kind of materials or a solid mechanics class, you know on part your corners up here are stress concentrators, especially when they come to a point. And you really try to avoid that to reduce stress and reduce the possibility of any kind of crack or damage to your part. So if we want to, let's say, round this corner, we're going to use something called the fillet tool. I believe that's a French word, fillet. And that tool is up here in our sketching window right here. Circular fillet, click once, and we're going to go ahead and fillet this corner right here. So we'll zoom in nice and close. The way you do it is you click the two lines that intersect in the corner. So click the vertical line, then click the horizontal line. And you'll see now that we actually have a dimension here. We're still in the fillet tool. So let's say if at this point we wanted to maybe fillet another edge, let's say maybe this one down here, we can go ahead and click that vertical and this angled side, and it'll create another one. And basically we can go around and do this to whatever sides we want. But once we get our two fillets in there, we'll go ahead and just leave these two. Center click once, and you'll see now we can go ahead and modify these. So let's say I want to make this this round larger. You could double click on the dimension. Let's say we want to call it like 2, and it might blow up the sketch a little bit. No, didn't do anything too bad there. So we have 2 radius fillet there, and you can do the same here. You can double click and change it. So that's a nice tool. You can go ahead, you go around and just fillet all these sides, and you'll have a rounded part on all sides. Another little trick we have here is, I believe this is the way it works. We'll go ahead and remove these. So hit Control Z twice or 3 times, whatever it takes to get us back to the corner. I believe if you click on the fillet tool, this time we're going to click the 2 sides. But now we'll head and let's try holding Control, click the vertical and the angled surface. Oh, I guess it's actually, oh, sorry, that's a SolidWorks thing where you can click and hold the Control, and it'll keep the same dimension. I guess I keep forgetting that doesn't work here. But anyways, click Enter, Escape, excuse me, twice, yes, out. If we do want to set these equal, kind of what I was trying to do is make sure that these were the same, so I didn't have to dimension them separately. We can go back and use those constraints again, and we can use this equal tool. So I was trying to do is create 2 equal fillets. I keep forgetting that that's only a SolidWorks thing. So click the equal tool, and if we actually click the 2 dimensions, it'll set them equal to each other. So it's kind of weird because it kind of sits on top. If you center click once, center click twice, gets out of the tool. Kind of drags out a little bit, and as I change this one, the other dimension should also change. And you can see how it kind of grew over there as this one grew. So they're kind of the same length. It's kind of convenient if you wanted to have things be the same and be able to change them together. So the other tool we have is the chamfer tool up here in the corner. Chamfer tool is similar to the fillet tool, but we're creating a kind of a cut corner. It's kind of basically cutting it, it's chamfering it. So if we click on this vertical line here and the one that comes on an angle, center click to get out of the tool, we're going to get an axis, an angle, length, and we can use that to kind of define our shape. Of course, it's already kind of at a corner there, so it's kind of a weird way to do it. I hit Control Z. We'll go ahead and click Control Z again, though. Undo all this stuff we have, get us back to our completed sketch. I just hit Control Z a bunch of times. And now that we're happy, you can go ahead and click OK. So now you can see this isn't the sketch that I put on the PowerPoint. I just wanted to show you the offset tool so you can see that's offset. This is our sketch. So some other things kind of while here, you can see you have these planes and these names. It's really annoying, right? So if we want to get rid of those, what we can do is we can come up here to this, I don't know, it looks like X's in a line or something. Third one from the right, and click it. And we can kind of unselect anything we don't want to see. So if we don't want to see all these planes, we can just unselect planes. If you don't want to see the words on the axis, you just go ahead and turn the axis off, turn points, axes, and we can use select all, turn them back on as well. That's kind of a nice tool. Now something that's familiar to people with SolidWorks that I kind of miss from this program, and I wish it had, you can click the center button and it lets you change the view angle with a cool little box that pops up and lets you kind of get a 3D view and choose it. With this program, if you want to do something similar, if let's say I wanted this side view, off to the side on this one, I can come up to the options, not display style, but saved orientations, and click right. That'll take me to the right side. So this is actually another way to kind of get tangent to your sketch. So if you want that and it's the front side, you can come and click front, and it'll put you on the front of the sketch. So that really covers the basics of sketching when it comes to CREO. Hopefully it wasn't too fast. Hopefully it made sense. I really want to go nice and slow and make sure it's clear. CREO sometimes can be a little frustrating. It has a little bit of a learning curve. PowerPoint really quickly. Just a few little things I want to cover. So if you have any further questions or you kind of want some more practice on this kind of stuff, I found this to be a really great resource. Bentonics 1. He has some really great videos on his website. This is kind of how I learned how to use CREO. He has some basic modeling ones. He goes up to the advanced stuff if you guys are already familiar with CREO. So that'll give you some opportunities to work with. He has some documents. You can look at things to draw, and he even has like a midterm exam, so you can use that to practice your skills. I will say one of the biggest things that people ask are, how do you get so good at working with the modeling software? How do you learn? How do you grow with it? And a lot of people say you can watch the videos all the time, sure, but I personally think the best way to get better and become more proficient with a CAD software is simply by using it. So things I would say is let's go and pick up a cup, pick up your coffee mug, and try and sketch it. Try and replicate it exactly. Click all the buttons, try all the menus, try everything. If you get yourself in trouble, Control Z, you can always go back to get out of it. So best way to work, best way to learn is to actually use it. So that'd be my recommendation on that. So if you have any further questions at all, you can go ahead and email us. I'll exit out of this real quick to show you our contact page. So if I go back to AIAA, go ahead and click on Contact Us. I am right here. I'm the Aviation Design Project Leader. It might change depending on when you're watching this video, but contact us right here, ucf.aaa@gmail.com, and I can go ahead and respond to those emails directly for you if you have any questions. So I hope you enjoyed this workshop. Again, these workshops are on Fridays here on campus. Any questions, feel free to ask. You have a great evening, and I look forward to seeing you for the next workshop.